I'm really excited about this panel because thus far we've had people on the bleeding edge of AI, right? Individual organizations or institutions that are implementing very specific AI. But you guys have a panorama view of what companies are doing. You're at, where the rubber hits the road. Companies come to you and say, what do we do with AI? So tell us what you're seeing and tell us how much of this is hype. This is not hype, this is all reality, versus reality when it comes to where we are in the AI stage.
Sure. So it's certainly hyped to some degree, but that's natural. And hype happens, I think, when we see something that gets us excited about what's possible today or tomorrow that wasn't possible yesterday. And that's certainly happening with AI. And then in reaction to that, what we're seeing across industries is the emergence of some personas. There's skeptics who believe it really is hype, and their litmus test is, are these demos that we're seeing going to scale and be sustainable? The risk of being a skeptic right now is you can find yourself out of position really quickly if others are running those tests and you're waiting for the results. Then you've got the zealots who are all in on AI. They think it's going to change the world right now. And they think big, and they're the ones that are going to do big things, right? The only risk of being a zealot is you might overinvest and you're going to have some failures. And then you've got the realists. And the realists, they believe in AI, but they think, they're wondering how much it's going to change things and how fast it's going to change things. But they're seeing 70 years of AI-enabled outcomes that over the last few years is increasing in volume and materiality at an exponential rate.
How about you, Scott? You just said you're the zealot.
I'm the zealot, but to Dan's point, AI has been around 7 decades. There's intelligent, brilliant people that have been working on this, the math, the science, the compute, so we shouldn't be that surprised. But the pivot point was when we released this human interface that enabled everyone to see the power. That was the spark. But let's think about just 18 months ago, maybe 2 years if we're generous, we not only saw the launch of this human chat interface and then multiple versions of that, we saw multiple versions of these large language models with trillions of new training in them. We saw the launch of multimodal, visuals, audio. You can go see Synthetic Scott and talk to me, and it's not me, it's an AI. And now we're seeing agentic architectures. All of that's in 18 months or maybe 2 years.
It's pretty fast.
It's unbelievably fast. So the pace is, there's no doubt the pace is different.
So that's all very exciting. Can you give us some specific examples of how you've helped companies? What are you doing that's really tactile is almost the way I want to describe it.
Yeah, there's no shortage of proof points. So one of the big tech companies out in California had a big cost program. We helped them with it. Production support, a very expensive function where you have large contracts managing production, fixing breaks, working with teams, doing small enhancements. We used AI to resolution how that's done, saved 35%, tens of millions of dollars in recurring expenses, annual expenses that were now available to
Why?
drop
Is
to
it
the
getting
bottom
rid
line.
of paperwork? Is it getting rid of steps? What's happening there?
AI is great at dealing with complexity, managing, seeing patterns. It's now, because of Gen AI, able to interface with humans in a much more natural way. So when people are calling in saying, hey, I've got this break, it recognizes a pattern. It can see that they fixed that same presenting system 20 times before with this solution. And it can go much faster, and then therefore the cost comes way down.
And I'd say, thinking about that capital investment, we've had kind of a perfect storm from the top, massive capital because of Gen AI. But that's pulling along a lot of these good old AI techniques of prediction and simulation and digital twins of our entire industrial AI environment. So the investment, the compute behind it has just expanded in an insane way. So to Dan's point, we're able to go across pretty much all the data we want to and do those precise predictions, either to take out cost, to be safer, to follow regulation better. We're looking at across, as we heard before, software engineering and technology. We can just do more with our amazing teams already. So not about taking their jobs away, it's about enabling them to build better products faster.
What about deploying it through an organization? Do you meet skepticism at the employee level? Are people worried about their jobs? Tell me about that, because you're dealing with real people and corporations that are worried about their people.
So the value of AI is going to be unlocked to the degree that we trust AI, and that we trust that the human will have a value proposition at the end of this AI journey. You have to get people to trust that that's the case. And so designing the solutions with the human at the center, making sure that they understand their value proposition, it frees them up to get really creative with everything outside of that boundary. And so what we're doing a lot of right now is trying to build trust in AI through responsible AI frameworks and programs, and it starts with the human at the center.
And I would add that I've never seen this much discussion in the earliest days of strategy at the highest levels of leadership, talking about responsible AI from the beginning, so building in trust by design versus bolting it on.
Versus like the early days of the internet, where
internet.
people didn't talk about trust.
I worked on the first browser. I remember the days, the promise, and then let's get it secure later, right? That's not what we're doing here. We're really truly thinking about an intentional trust in design, thinking about the humans in the loop. And we're studying jobs right now, and quite honestly, it's showing to be very accretive to roles, taking away tasks we didn't want to do. So superpowers, filling those skills gaps we heard earlier. This globally, that's a big issue. We're quite, in the US, we're pretty good comparatively.
Here's a softball.
Soft.
Should every company be using AI or trying to use AI?
We think so. No, we think AI is going to become an intrinsic part of business, meaning a natural part of everything we make and everything we do. Each industry, each function will be impacted by AI differently. It's not a monolithic thing. You kind of have to take a step back and do the analysis on how it's going to impact your particular sector, your particular business, your particular function. But we think, we have a lot of conviction that it's going to show up in every business.
As somebody who's the engineer, somebody who's running a company, how should they think about it? Because it'd be so overwhelming. How do you start? Where do you start?
Well, I always start with it's not magic, it's math, so it only solves certain problems. So finding those big, hard problems that we can solve with AI. It's not a silver bullet. It's not going to solve all problems. So should you use AI? Absolutely. But find the points in your business where you can optimize better, you can predict better, you have massive data that you understand. Data is a problem. We have data spread all over. So you really have to look, to Dan's point, based on your industry and your business strategy, where are you going to outpace your competitors? Use AI in those parts of your business and let it kind of trickle into the others.